All right, so good evening and welcome. So inspired by Pinnacle cooking class, once a month, tonight we're doing our freezer meals edition. So hopefully you guys are here to learn a little bit about how you can prep your food and freeze it and have it all ready for those moments when you're just busy, get home from work late, or have chaos happening in the home. We've chosen 6 dishes for you tonight, one sweet, but lots of savory. And so enjoy. Before we begin, throughout the class today, we are going to talk to you a little bit about reducing waste, but also our Oz Harvest partnership. And that's something that we've launched this week. We're doing some amazing things out there in the community, and you guys get to be a part of that with us. We'll also talk a little bit about our experiences as consultants. Some of you, if you come to all of these classes, you've probably met Elmin, Beck, and myself a few times, but some of you will be new to us as well. And so we'll share our journeys with Thermomix along the way. And if you have considered being a consultant before, please think about what that could look like for you. You don't have to present at these classes. You can do things behind the scenes, but we'd love to have you. And of course, we're always looking for more consultants to join us. So we are kicking off with Beck. Over to you, Beck.
Hello, thanks, Claire. And I just would like to acknowledge Amelia, who's actually Zoomed in tonight. Amelia just ordered her Thermomix this afternoon. So she is brand new, and I'm very excited that she had the time to join us. So just quickly, guys, yes, Beck McAlister from Thermomade. I have been a consultant now for 8 and a bit years, and I live in Moss Vale in the Southern Highlands, formerly of Canberra. I'm doing quite a lot of cooking in my kitchen tonight. As you can see, I actually have 3 Thermomixes on the go, but hopefully it won't be too chaotic for you. The first recipe that I'm going to kick us off with is an easy pasta bake. So this is something that I do most sort of New Year's, Christmas, Boxing Day time, because it uses up leftover Christmas ham. And for me, that's a really big one. You can obviously cook this fresh, but it's one that you can cook and freeze and then pull out in an emergency. So that's why I decided to show it to you. What I've done so far, and I will raise my voice because I'm going a little bit further away. So far what I've done is pre-boiled some water. So about 1.1 litres of water is currently boiling in my Thermomix. And to that, I'm going to add my pasta. So show us in the chat if you have cooked pasta in your Thermomix before, because lots of people don't think it's possible because the bowl is kind of on the small side. They go, no, it's going to boil over. Let me show you how it works. So what I've got going over here, guys, is my boiling water. To that, I'm going to weigh in. I've got 400 grams of pasta going in here. So this is penne, dried penne, and in the water, there's a little bit of olive oil and salt. Alrighty. So while the pasta's cooking, guys, what we're going to be doing is steaming the broccoli for this dish. So in my Varoma, which is your steaming attachment, I've got some broccoli. Now, this is an example of where to cut down on your food waste, guys. I have used my broccoli stems in here, okay? Don't waste them. They're so full of goodness. Cut them up, rough sizes the same as the stalks on your florets, and they're going to cook beautifully. So that's going on top. Obviously, remove your measuring cup. Varoma into position, and that's going to cook for 7 minutes. And then we're going to come back and I'll show you the rest of that a bit later. There's a white sauce that we're going to make that stirs through that. But I really just wanted you guys to understand how to do pasta. The reason it doesn't boil over is because that Varoma is on top. So even if the water does bubble up during cooking, it's actually just going to bubble up in around the broccoli and it's not going to spill out onto the bench. All right, now, and I do apologise, I can't reach the chat. So if anyone asks a question, I might ask Claire or Elmin to jump in and share the response with you or shout it out to me. All right, so second dish that I'm going to show you tonight. This is the what's it called? Chicken and chorizo. It's like a stew. And this is one of the ones that, like if I know someone's going into hospital and I want to give them some freezer meals to tide them over when they get home, this is one of the ones that I do because it's a really fast cook. It's full of yummy protein and it defrosts really, really well. It's a good one to serve in freezing portions. So step one with this dish is the garlic. So we've got 3 garlic cloves, peeled obviously, and 10 grams of fresh ginger. So with your ginger, always cut it into little rounds like that. It just helps the Thermomix chop through the fibrous parts when it's chopping it for you. We're going to pop the lid on. Oh, hang on a minute. No, sorry, I've started with the wrong recipe. This Thermomix I want. Let's come back to that. That's the
I've actually got you with the chicken and chorizo starting.
Yeah, no, but that's this Thermomix over here.
Right.
These are my ingredients for the thing.
Okay.
I started to show you the Huli chicken, guys. Ignore that. Come over here with me. Okay, olive oil. First step of this recipe is chopping onions and olive oil. So let's do that. Don't mind me, multitasking. That's what happens when you're trying to dry 3 Thermomixes at once. All right, there's my olive oil. I've got a brown onion cut in half. Whoops. So again, for anyone who might be new to Thermomix, the general rule is if the thing fits through the hole in your lid, it's not too big. The exception to that rule is things like Parmesan cheese, which is really dense and hard, chocolate. So anything that's really, really hard, obviously you have to do smaller. But for vegetables and soft things, as long as it fits in the hole, you're all good. Okay, from that, we're going to chop for 5 seconds. I'm just going to switch this over. 5 seconds on speed 5. Then what we're going to do is give our bowl a little scrape before we saute. So we just want to make sure that those onions aren't up the sides of the bowl. So that's what we've got there so far. I'm sure most of you who are owners have seen that a million times. All right, onion going on for 5 minutes on speed 1. I am going to remove the measuring cup because I'm cooking over 95 degrees. It has prompted me to put the simmering basket on top of the lid. Off we go. So while that's sauteing for 5 minutes, I'm going to come back over here and show you the thing that I was going to show you. This is a marinade for our chicken, right? So I chose this recipe. It's called Huli chicken. Claire is going to hate it. It's full of sugar. It's really unhealthy, but my kids love it. Alrighty. So the marinade for this has got ginger and garlic, which I already showed you. We're going to chop that for 3 seconds. I'm playing measuring cups from one machine to the other. There we go. 3 seconds on speed 5. Again, we'll give that a little scrape. And because we're chopping up that ginger and we want to make sure we haven't missed any bits, the recipe says to chop it twice. But I'm going to have a look there and there's no big chunky bits. So I'm just going to skip the next step because I don't think it needs to be chopped twice. To that, we're going to put in some sesame oil, which it looks like I forgot to get out of my fridge. Bear with me.
Beck, is there a reason you keep sesame oil in your fridge?
No, not really.
Okay.
Only that, like, I just worry that something like sesame oil could go rancid quickly. So I pop it in the fridge just to keep it a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Oh my goodness, those onions are burning my eyes. Woo, I'll come over this side. All right, tearing off my scales because I only want 15 grams. And again, we are going to saute that off, I think, for a couple of minutes. Yeah, 2 minutes for this one on speed 1. Beautiful. All righty. So what I might do whilst I'm waiting for those to cook is just perhaps talk to you a little bit more about the chicken and what I'm going to be doing with that. So, you know, when you go to the shops and you buy those lovely packs of pre-marinated, you know, chicken or beef or whatever, most of the time they're full of yucky artificial things that you don't want to put in your body. So even though this recipe is designed to make the marinade, put it on the chicken and it goes straight in the oven, it's perfect for coating and freezing. So what I'm going to be doing today, I've got some of these really great silicone pouches that we sell in the mix shop. All right, so I've got my 500, in fact, there's about 700 grams of chicken in that one. And once the marinade is cooked and cooled down, I will just pour it straight in the pouch, give it a little massage, and that is going to go into my freezer. And because this recipe actually makes enough for a marinade and a sauce, so the dish has enough for there to be sauce left over, I am going to double the chicken. So I'll have 2 batches of chicken in the freezer ready to bake. Obviously, I will be missing the sauce, but it's so sweet, you really don't need it. Okay, I think that's my pasta going at me behind. Let me just check. It is. So we're up to the step now where we are going to drain the cooked pasta and the broccoli. And this is kind of the bit that I wanted you to see, guys. Otherwise, this recipe is a little bit boring. But let me show you. They're all going off at once. There we go. All right. So I've taken my aroma off. And just out of interest, I'll show you what 7 minutes of steaming looks like. The broccoli is still really lovely and green. Okay. Then in here, so this pasta, the penne, on the packet directions, it says cook for 11 minutes. But because we're actually going to be baking this in the oven as well, you don't want to overcook it. And I just fogged up my glasses. That's awesome. All right. So let me show you how to use your Varoma as a strainer. Okay. I'm going to take this to my sink. I'm going to grab the pasta. So I can maybe tip that and show you our pasta is in there. It hasn't boiled over. And then you literally pour it on top of the broccoli and let it drain down the sink. Done. The last step of the pasta recipe, guys, is making the white sauce. So I'll kind of just, while Claire's cooking, I'll hang out in the background and I'll make the white sauce and then we'll assemble it all together at the end. But before I throw to Claire, I will just do the next step of the chicken and chorizo because this is going to cook for about 20 minutes. So to my onions, which are now lovely sauteed onions. See, look, there they are. We're going to add in our chorizo. So the recipe says 120, 130 grams. I'm bulking this up a little bit. My bowl is going to be very, very full once this is done. So this is 2 whole sausages. To that, we're going to put in some tomato paste. Now, homemade tomato paste is really great. I had loads of tomatoes in my garden this year. A lot of it ended up as passata and pasta sauce and things to go in the fridge and in my pantry. But I also, and this is now defrosted, but I made tomato paste and then froze it in ice cube trays. So for things like this, I could just pull one out of the freezer and whack it in my dish. So 40 grams of the tomato paste. To that, we're putting in our canned chopped tomatoes. And when your recipe says like 400 grams of canned chopped tomatoes, that just means 1 can. Like if you weigh it in and it's slightly more or slightly less, don't worry too much. It just means 1 can. All righty, now we've got our chicken. So with our chicken, the recipe says just to cut your thighs in half. So, excuse fingers, I literally I've just taken my chicken, there's some stringy bits, but you just chop it in half. And the thing with thigh, and some people don't like cooking with chicken thighs because it's a little bit on the fatty side, but that's where the flavour comes from. So don't spend time taking off the fatty bits. It all goes in. So that was 800 grams of chicken thighs. 1 second, I've got sticky fingers. Then what we're going to do is some dried oregano. Roughen up is good enough. And then some salt to taste. So if anyone hasn't ever milled salt in their Thermomix, that's another fun thing that you can do. So buy rock salt, grind it up, pop it in your container, and then you're just making what you need as you need it. So that was a teaspoon of salt, a little bit of black pepper as well, which is hiding over here. And once all this goes in, like this is basically it then, this recipe will just do its thing. Stir with the aid of a spatula, it says, which I'm actually not going to bother doing. And then it cooks for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Now it is going to cook on reverse. So I'm hoping everybody knows where to find the reverse button on the Thermomix. It's down underneath the speed dial. You just press the little button and it will go forwards in reverse. Claire, have we got time for me to put the rest of this marinade together?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. All right, let me just get some things out of the way. Okay, so my ginger and my garlic was in here, you recall, and we've sauteed that off with the sesame oil. The next ingredient is pineapple juice. So I am using store-bought pineapple juice today. In the past, I have also blended fresh pineapple and used that in the marinade. I left the fibre in. It was a little bit on the thicker side, but we didn't mind. And also, just another caution, I guess, if you are buying things like juice, always read the packet. I looked at 4 different brands, 4 different products. This is the only one that didn't contain stabilizers and other fillers. It is sweetened, there is some sugar in it, but that's it. It's just pineapple and sugar. So 280 grams of the juice. And so the recipe, as I said, this is a sweet one. It's 110 grams of dark brown sugar. I'm not going to add quite that much today because the pineapple juice is sweetened. But the brown sugar combined with dark soy sauce is what gives this dish its really lovely dark colour. Alrighty. Then we've got some chicken stock paste. So again, this has been living in my freezer since October. This is the homemade chicken stock paste that you find in your basic cookbook. And I'll just show you, because it's frozen, all the salt in that keeps it soft. So I can actually just scoop it out without needing to freeze it in ice cube trays or anything like that. You can just take it out of the freezer and scoop straight from the container. 100 grams of water. Now, another little tip for you guys, which people may or may not realise, is that your measuring cup that goes in your lid is actually a measuring cup. So if you didn't realise this, if you have a look up the outside of your measuring cup, there's a line. The top of that line is 100 mils. And then on the opposite side, there's a smaller line, which is 50 mils. And as a little bonus extra, the divot right in the bottom, there's like a little dip. That's a tablespoon. So, right, 100 mils of water. Tomato ketchup. You can use your good old Heinz, but I happen to have some homemade stuff, so that's what I'm putting in. Oops. Oh, I went a little bit too much. Never mind. and then dark soy. Now, again, if you're concerned about additives, switch this out just for a tamari or a standard soy sauce, because again, the dark soy does have a few additives and things in it. And it's also got a bit of Worcestershire sauce in it, this one. So 30 grams of that one. And then all we're going to do is cook this down for 20 minutes. And once it's cooked, I'll give it a bit of time to cool down before I mix it with the chicken. Obviously, if I was cooking the chicken straight away, it wouldn't matter. But because it's going in the freezer, I don't want it to be too hot. Alrighty, 20 minutes, speed 1. While I clean up and put on the white sauce for our pasta bake, Clare Wells is going to talk to you about some delicious muffins and some rissoles.
Awesome. Thanks, Beck. All right. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Claire. I live in Canberra and I've been doing Thermomix for quite a few years now. The reason I first got into it is I'm passionate about health. It's been a big part of my life, all my life, that as long as I can remember. And I could just see a way for the Thermomix to help me eat better. I loved cooking from scratch and I had the time to do it, but I was kind of limited by the sorts of things I could do. So the ability to be able to make my own spices and pastes and condiments and even my own things like butter and milling grains and seeds and nuts was really appealing. And so I was deeply attracted to the Thermomix. And here I am, 12 years later with third model on, had a couple of 31s, couple of 5s, now a couple of 6s. Can't not have 2 Thermomixes in my kitchen at all times. And I'm really passionate also about what the business can do for people, because it's just an incredible journey and we learn so much about food and life and ourselves and cooking and amazing meals. All right, so I was just showing you guys a little bit of the screen. It's hard sort of in these Zoom spaces to see everything that's going on. So I hope you followed that. There's lots to learn with Cookidoo. So if you're ever not sure, we can run Cookidoo sessions with you virtually or in person. Your consultant can come over and do those in demos as well. So if you're hosting a cooking experience, we love to do Cookidoo lessons at the same time. Now, the gut mud muffins that I like to make, they're called chocolate mud muffins from the Gut Health collection. I actually quite like a lot of the recipes from that Gut Health collection. So check it out. All I do is type Gut Health into Cookidoo and up comes all of the things with that in the title. Now, this one has a lot of sort of extra stuff like the prebiotics for the gut. And that's why they're called the gut muffins. So the first thing is 150 grams of cashews, dry roasted or activated. Activated just means that they are soaked and then they're sort of dehydrated or gone back to crunchy. I can do that. I do have a dehydrator, but I don't necessarily need to. If you've got poor gut health, it does help to do activated nuts. And I'm just going to mill those up. Now, I like to buy my nuts in bulk, so I usually buy 5 kilos at a time. I find I do a lot of nut cooking, so there's my milled cashews, and I'm going to transfer those out into a bowl. I need a slightly bigger bowl than the one that came out of. The other delicious, really easy muffin recipe, there's cashew banana muffins, and it's literally just cashews and bananas, and they're fabulous. After I've done this, I will show you guys. I'll send you the recipe. All right, so I've got dark chocolate. Now I like to buy this recipe calls for 70%. I like to buy 70% dark chocolate just for baking. A little bit healthier than the milk-based ones. Less sugar as well, which Beck alluded to before. So 100 grams of that. And I'm going to mill this one up and then cut me out because it's a little bit noisy. And it says to scrape down, and I'm going to melt that one. So what I'm going to do is while that melts, just going to switch Thermomixes and let it melt on the other machine. So I'm going to cancel that recipe. Yes. And I want to come to my next one. So the next recipe that I'm going to show you is the pine nut and currant rissoles by Mark Labori. This is one that Beck chose. So Beck makes this one. I sort of, I don't usually put as much into my rissoles, but these look amazing. So I'm excited to try them. So the first step for this one, let me just melt my chocolate. All right, so is place some red onion. Where's my red onion? It's all underneath my parsley. So I've got my red onion and I've got some fresh parsley. So I just took a big bunch from the garden. I like to, one of the things I try to do is in all of my mains, I like to have at least something from my garden. I don't have a huge veggie garden, but there's always something there. These are actually garlics from my garden as well. So 4 garlic cloves, some red onion and some parsley. And I think you can never have too much parsley. So that just chopped it up for me. And for anyone who's relatively new to Thermomix, that is how quickly we get to chop herbs and onions and garlic. So Amelia, no more slaving over the chopping board. I've got some beef mince here, so it's add 500 grams of that. And some roasted pine nuts. So I don't quite have 75 grams. I don't usually use pine nuts in much of my cooking. If anything calls for pine nuts, I usually replace it with cashews, but I did have some. So I'm using them up and I roasted them in my Thermomix just for about 4 minutes. Now it says dried currants, and I was just telling Beck before that I realized I don't have any currants. I have cranberries. I'm going to put a few cranberries in. I won't put a lot though, because I know my kids really well and I don't think they'll eat them if I put too many cranberries in. So I'm just going to put maybe half the amount or a few, just to add that little bit of flavor. Now the next thing, I do like to substitute a lot when I cook. And so I find it really hard to tell someone how I made a recipe because I just use what's in my cupboard. And this is where reducing waste is really great. If you've got food, may as well use it. You know, I'd hate to go to the shop to buy something for one thing if I've never made that dish before and I might not make it ever again. So I usually substitute. And so instead of Kit-Kat Manis, which is quite a sweet soy-based sauce that you can buy in the supermarket from Asian section, I'm using tamari, which is a gluten-free soy sauce. And I've put in a teaspoon of shiitake mushroom powder. So what that does is it kind of makes a little bit of an oyster sauce flavor. It gives it that maybe, you know, umami as opposed to having the sweet sauce. So that's what I've got there. That's just going to add that little bit of extra flavor. And then it says panko breadcrumbs, which I'm also not going to use because they do have some additives in them. And so I've got here some breadcrumbs. Now, I don't eat rice or gluten. And so this is actually, there's a beautiful bread on Cookidoo called artesian gluten-free bread, artesian gluten-free in the cast iron. It's amazing. And the beautiful thing about it is I can sub out the rice and I can put in my own ingredients like millet or what else do I use? Extra buckwheat, quinoa. So all of the ones that my gut can tolerate. And so I can make this amazing artesian bread, rice-free and gluten-free, which you just can't buy from the supermarket. So I've milled some of that up and I'm going to add that instead of my panko breadcrumbs. It has quite a buckwheat flavor, but I love that. And so I think that that will work really well in my rissoles. 2 eggs laid by my chickens. They lay about 4 to 6 eggs a day. So whenever I can use up eggs, I'm super happy. And then I've got some spices in here. So I've got paprika, dried chili. I just did half the amount of dried chili. Again, my children might not eat it. Salt, pepper, and that's going to go in. So lots of flavor intensity in these rissoles, which is probably why Beck says how amazing they are. And you'll see on the screen here, if you're not familiar with the Thermomix, there is a little video that tells me how to do the action that it's asking me to do. So the good news is if you get to a part of a recipe and it's a little bit, I don't know what that is, it can sometimes show you. So this one's just telling me to insert my spatula into the hole in the lid. And as I turn it, I'm going to help work the ingredients together. Okay, and it says to do 40. Oh my gosh. It's a lot of rolling. Beck, do you normally do 40 or do you make them a bit bigger? I'm like, I'm not rolling 40. So there is my amazing, rich looking, delicious, smells amazing. I actually am excited to try these. So I will roll those eventually, and I'll show you before we wrap up tonight. So that was super easy. Meanwhile, back to my chocolate. Now on your Thermomix, when you want to, let's say I want to exit out of this recipe, I go my 3 little dots here, and I actually want to cancel that one because it won't let me go into another one while I'm in one already. And so I'll go back to my gut mud muffins. Now I'm just going to scroll down to the section that I'm at, which is I've done the melting. And so now I'm up to this step, step 4. And if I click on that, it just takes me straight in to where I need to be. Okay, so my chocolate has melted. So that beautiful melting in there. 400 grams of black beans. So they're just rinsed. Black beans are really great for your large intestine, for your colon, feeding your microbiome. Green banana flour is also incredibly good for your microbiome, and it's a great prebiotic, so it feeds your gut. So I've got green banana flour. You can sub that for anything. Like if you've got other types of flours, you might have sweet potato flour, teff flour, I don't know, different ones. You might just like normal plain basic flour. Anything will work. Just depends on how healthy you want them. So I've also got the cacao in there, which comes in now as well. So they're both going to go in. And a little bit of banana goes in. And guess what? Thank you, Beck, giving me 2 recipes with eggs, 3 more chickens' eggs. A little bit of vanilla. You know, you can make your own vanilla with vodka and vanilla beans. Super easy, but it takes a long, long time, like 6 months. Coconut oil. Now, I also like to buy extra virgin coconut oil in a 5 kilo tub. And I probably get through it in maybe 6 months. So I do like to cook with coconut oil. And it's amazing for raw snacks, healthy treats. 80 grams of milk of choice. Now what I've got here is I made the macadamia and hemp milk from Cookidoo. I love this one. You can just drink it straight. You can have it with coffees. Probably wouldn't have it with tea. It would be great with smoothies. It's a very thick milk because you don't strain this one. But I have it in the fridge, so I like to use whenever I make a milk, I like to use it in my baking. I try not to use, I do eat cheese and stuff, but I also try to avoid cream and cow's milk. So that's where having alternative milks is really great. 60 grams of honey. You can use any form of sweetening. If you wanted a little less sweet, something like, although in saying that these aren't very sweet, so you probably don't need less sweetening, but if you did want to have less of a sweetener, rice malt syrup is a nice sort of in between. And any of the syrups that are sort of refined, sugar-free are great. All right, adding in my reserved cashews. On goes my measuring cup and lid, and speed for 2 minutes. So, question around can you guys still hear me while that's going? Yeah, cool. So around the supermarket selling banana flour, they don't all sell it. You might be lucky to find it, but definitely health food stores will sell the green banana flour. I don't use it in a lot of cooking. I find it's got quite it does change the flavor of things. So you might not want to use it in everything, but have a go, like try it out and see if you like it. So instead of nuts, Linda, probably sunflower seed meal would be really great in this one. If you can have sunflower seeds, they're a really great substitute. Otherwise, you could, anything that you would normally use that adds a little bit of bulk. I'm really a big nut cooker, so everything I make has nuts in it, so I'm not the best person. If anyone has a suggestion for, yeah, or some sunflower seeds, but if anyone has another suggestion, just let us know what you use instead of nuts. Be really great.
Can I just jump in for 5 seconds, Claire?
Yeah.
My chicken and chorizo stew is basically done now. The last step was to add the chickpeas, and I just wanted to explain, and I have already drained them, but I wanted people to realize that you can use your simmering basket to strain your canned beans and things. So just strain that like you would in a colander, give it a rinse under the tap, and then that can go straight into your dish. That recipe is now going to cook for, I think it's 3 more minutes, and it will be done. My white sauce is also done, but I'm not going to show you that yet. I'm going to let Claire finish her muffins.
So I've just scraped down the sides and going for another mix. A little bit more this time. Okay, so it's asking you to add a teaspoon of baking powder, gluten-free baking powder, which I always buy, and 50 grams of walnuts. So just add those in as well. Any kind of nut you want to add in if you can have nuts, and just mix that for another 30 seconds. And they're going, there you go, they're going in. The other thing I'm going to do is use our brownie pan. So this is one of our Mix Shop Rose Gold range. Does anyone have any of the Mix Shop range of the Rose Gold bakeware? Yeah, Linda, you do. It's amazing. And it's super like thick. I still like to grease it. I find that if I don't grease it over time, it loses its sort of effectiveness. So I like to grease it. I've greased this one with coconut oil and dusted it with cocoa or cacao powder. So it's just going to make it a little bit easier to get out, particularly because this has square sides, and something worse than, you know, going to all the trouble of baking and then half of it gets stuck in the pan. So here is my muffin mix. It's quite a thick one. This is our kitchen toolkit. I love this bit, especially for making my, you know, dishing out batter and stuff. So that's the texture of it. It does say to leave it to stand for 3 minutes before I put it into the pan. So I will just leave that to sit for a little bit. And I will pass you guys. Am I going back to you, Beck? I am, I know. Or am I going to Elmin?
No, I go to Elmin and then I can wrap up at the end.
Okay, awesome. And when Beck wraps up, I'll show you my rissoles that are rolled and how I'm going to freeze them and my muffins. All right, Elmin, over to you.
Yes, so for those that do not know me, I'm Elmin and I'm a team leader here in Canberra. And I've now had the privilege of working for almost 15 years for Thermomix and loving every moment of it. So tonight I'm going to show you how to make a plaited pork pie. I've found that pies that you make before you bake it freezes really well, and it's a quick meal that you can just take out of the freezer, pop it into the oven, and it will be ready in 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. So the recipe you will find on Cookidoo, so the plaited pork pie. So I'm just going to do the filling quickly for you. So we're going to start off with spring onions and just give that a quick chop. Once that's done, we're going to add the sausage meat. So what the recipe asks for you is to take a pork sausages, take it out of the skins, and just use the filling of it. Now, I would really suggest that there's the beautiful chopping. Suggest that you get a good quality pork sausage, or alternatively, if you have a look on Cookidoo, there's pork sausages recipe. It's quite a lot, but you can scale it down and make it less, and you can make your own pork sausage filling that you want and have all the stuff that you need here. So I'm just going to add the 500 grams of sausage meat that we've got in there. We're adding a teaspoon of thyme and a teaspoon of parsley, dried. You can probably use fresh as well if you have that, like all the other ladies in their beautiful gardens. Then we're going to add 20 grams of Worcestershire sauce that you can pop in there. And then that's good. It's going to be mixed for a few seconds. So this recipe, the longest thing that, or the thing that takes the longest, is basically taking it out of the skins, the sausages. Right. So now this is all done. Right. It looks like that. Right. So what I'm going to show, I'm just going to tip the screen down that you can have a look. Right. So what I've got here, I thought some puff pastry, but you can also make your own puff pastry from the Cookidoo recipe find that you can do. Now, once you've done that, the filling goes on top of the puff pastry like that. And if you have a little bit more time, you can make small ones as well and have individual little pies that you freeze. And once you're ready, you can take them out of the freezer, put some egg wash on it, and bake them for 30 minutes. All right, so with this one here, what I suggest is that you basically put it about 8 centimeters, lock like that you can fit in here. Make sure that you put it in the middle because we're going to plait it and we're going to fold all the dough around it to make it look beautiful and like you are a fantastic chef. Right, so easy to make this. Okay, so once you've done that, so it's basically, I'll have a look at that. So you can do that. Can you see better that way? All right. So all what I'm going to do now is basically take a knife and I'm going to cut the pastry. All right. So basically just, you can make it as thick or as thin as you want to. I'm just going to do about 2 centimeter pieces like that. Cut that on either side. Like so. And you repeat it on that side. Oh, I'm doing left. It's good for brain development, hey, to do something that you not usually do with your left hand. All right, so just basically like that. Now, the easy part of that is that you can peel that off. The bottom part here, let's get the paper away. Just fold it in there like that. So basically, we're going to fold the edges like that. And the top one is going to go to the side of it. Just fold it in. The same with that one. To the side of it and fold it in. It's almost like it's got a little hat. And you're going to do basically the same with the bottom one once we get to that stage. I can just quickly do that and then you can see it again. So fold it up at the bottom to enclose that and on the side like so. All right, so you can see that's basically, it's enveloped in a little framed with the pastry. Then basically what you do is you take one piece of the pastry on the side and alternatively do that. And you basically cover that. So you just have to play around with it a little bit. Get that done. Next one. You basically crisscross that. If there's a little bit that sticks out, it's not the end of the world. It will all come together, right? And you keep on doing that, crisscrossing it, and it looks just beautiful when it's baked. It looks really professional. People won't believe that you've done that. It's not bought, it's all homemade. And what is nice about this, once you make your own pork pastry or pork mince that you use Cookidoo recipe, you can add some extra veggies and stuff in there, you know, especially if you have leftover things that you want to use up, you can do that. So basically, that one. And that one. Right. So basically, then you can just squeeze it like that. You can even stretch the dough a little bit up that it can cover the bottom parts like that. Close it up. That you can have that beautiful pork pie. And this is basically what you can do is when you freeze things, make sure that you, if you can, vacuum seal it or put it in a baking paper. So I'm just going to put mine in there. So let me do it other way. Hold that one. Yeah. Close that. Tuck it in like this. Hold it in like this. And just put it underneath. And you've got that beautiful little packet there. So fold it in like you're wrapping a present, like that, and tuck it in underneath. And you've got that beautiful packet that you can freeze, and it's ready to bake. You just dust it, and I've made another one as well. That one is a bit better, that you can see what it looks like. All right. So, and once it's baked, it's beautiful and colorful and absolutely delicious. So with that one, just make sure that before you bake it, to cover it with egg white that you can do. And if you want to prevent freezer burn from anything that you freeze in put in your freezer, make sure that you vacuum seal it, because freezer burn is basically when moisture gets out of your food, and that's what freezes. All right, and that makes it not so nice, and you want to minimize waste. So if you do vacuum seal it, it is the best way to get the most out of everything. Over to you, Beck.
Great tips. Love it. And like I love, like with the kids and things too, just making sausage rolls, like doing little individual sausage rolls and popping them in the freezer before you bake them. So yeah, same sort of.
Yeah, and Lexi, you know, we asked Lexi, you can basically use any pork mince. I would say make your own mince. The pork mince is just because they've got lots of flavor in it, but you can make your own pork mince and put your own flavor in it. So it's easy enough to buy a pork and make mince in your Thermomix, and then add your own spices and herbs in there, and you make it from there. It's really, it's up to you how you make it and what your flavors and tastes are. All right, easy to do.
All right, so I'm just going to bring all three of my dishes together for you now so you can see the final result. So what I'm using for my pasta bake is the largest size of our vacuum seal containers from the mix shop. So some of you might have seen these. This is the lid. They've got a really funky lid with a little valve in it, so you can actually suck the air out before you put it in the fridge or freezer. I will show you the vacuum sealer in a minute, but for now, let's assemble this. So the recipe uses ham. I had bacon in the fridge that needed to be used up, so that's what I'm using. So I've just got my diced bacon. Then you'll remember I cooked my pasta and steamed the broccoli at the same time. So that's here. I'm going to tip that into my container now, and I'm a bit worried that won't actually fit. So let's see how we go. Oh, no, it should be okay. I'll just squish it down at the end. All right, so I'm just going to give that a bit of a mix through. And whilst Claire was cooking off in the background, my black Thermomix was making the white sauce. So it was just butter, flour, milk, salt, pepper, and a bit of Dijon mustard. And that's all come together. I'm literally going to pour that on top of the pasta, and I will give it a bit more of a stir. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this has also got some Gruyere cheese in it as well. So pour it all in, mix it together, whack the lid on once it's cooled down, because like Elmin said, you want to avoid that condensation because that's what causes freezer burn. And then that is just going in my freezer for a day when I cannot be bothered cooking. And it's a great one for the kids. So there we go. I will mix that in a minute because I'll make a mess. The last few minutes of my chicken and chorizo is now done. And so what we've ended up with, it's a bit hard to see. The bowl's quite full, so perhaps I won't tip it over too hard. But as I said, this is a great one to freeze in portions. So this time I've got the little small size vacuum seals, and I'm just going to scoop some of this out into the containers and do individual ones. The sauce is a little bit on the runny side, but as it cools down, it is going to thicken up. And if you wanted to thicken it, you could probably add some corn flour or something, but I think it's quite nice just as it is.
The other thing is, Beck, when you reheat something, you always end up reducing it a little bit more. So
that's right. There we go. So that's my chicken and chorizo, and I reckon there's probably at least 5 serves in there. What I might do actually is just show you the vacuum seal, even though that is hot. I'm just going to show you guys how it works. So this is the little wand that comes with the set, and that's what's going to suck out the air. So all you do is you put it over the little valve in the middle, and you press the button. And there's a little white, it's a nipple, let's be honest. That's what it is. It's a little rubber nipple. And once all the air sucks out, that little white dome sort of pops down so that you know that it is sealed. And that's it, you're done. And then it's going to keep for heaps longer in the fridge or the freezer. So that's that one. And then what was my Huli chicken. I actually have popped some of that marinade in the bag in the freezer just to cool it down quickly so that I could show it to you.
So our baker's taking that. Lexi said that she's never made her own mince, so you can make any mince in your Thermomix. The thing is, just make sure that you cut it in cubes, about 2 centimeter cubes or 3 centimeter cubes. Power freeze them that they are firm but not frozen, and then you can have it, can mince it as well. And if you swipe to the left of your with your Thermomix TM6, there's a chopping function that helps you to do your mince as well.
Thanks, Elmin. So this is half of that marinade. The other half is still in the bowl cooling down, because remember I said I was going to double batch it. So literally chicken in the silicone bag, give it a jiggle, chuck it in the freezer. That's all we're going to do. And then to cook that, you just bring it back out of the freezer, defrost it enough to sort of get it out of the bag, then whack it on a baking tray and put it in the oven. So you're basically following the rest of the recipe. The recipe also includes a macaroni salad, which I have to tell you, for anyone whose family likes the pasta salad from the supermarkets, you know, that horrible stuff that you buy in plastic tubs. The macaroni salad from this recipe is pretty close to that. So if you're into that sort of thing, it's a really good one to try. So there we go. That's it. That's going in the freezer now. I'm very excited. I've got like a week's worth of dinners after tonight, guys. So thank you.
I know, I was thinking about that. I love doing these classes because I end up with food.
Yeah.
And so I tend to make my snacks that my kids won't eat these, the things for me, and I freeze them. And so I can just get them out, you know, every now and then when I feel like it. These are quite dense, like it's kind of like eating a meal. So if I'm hungry and I don't have food prepared, and rather than just going for sort of a easy, not so nutritious snack, I'll go for one of these, and I just get it out, microwave it for about 30 seconds to a minute, depending on your microwave. If you don't want to use a microwave, you can just thaw it out, get in the morning, or get it out at night. I would recommend freezing them if you are going to make them and not eat them within a few days, just because all homemade baked goods don't have a long life out of, you know, on the bench. Most of the time they don't last very long anyway. So I'm going to bake those for half an hour at 160 degrees. And here's my rissoles. So I've decided to go nice round ones. You could potentially flatten them and freeze them as patties. But yeah, whatever you fancy, you could do a little bit of each. Beck, you had a tip on how you do rissoles, and
I thought I'd just quickly grab my tool out. For anyone who uses Tupperware, these things are amazing. So it's the hamburger press. So this is what I use for burgers. And you make them into the individual patties. I haven't got the lid, but you just whack a lid on it and stick the whole thing in the freezer. So this one isn't a Thermomix product, but it's handy for this sort of thing. Or you can just freeze them like in a flat layer. So like put them on a baking tray, put that in the freezer until they're solid, and then pop them into like one of the bags or whatever you want.
so I will be probably not bothering to freeze those. We'll probably just cook them and eat them tomorrow. So they'll go into the fridge. Did we talk about the Oz Harvest?
No, we haven't, because we did lots of cooking, but I'd really like to share about Oz Harvest. We talked about food waste and why it's important to prevent. Who's going to share? It's so exciting.
You go.
Me?
Yeah.
All right. So guys, I'm assuming all of you know about the work that Oz Harvest do. And Claire mentioned at the beginning, Thermomix has just come on board as, I guess, a partner or a sponsor of Oz Harvest. And our goal over the next little while is to provide 100,000 meals through Oz Harvest for people in need. Now, the way we're going to do that is through our demos. So every consultant, every demo they hold between now and the 15th of May is a $10 donation or 20 meals donated to Oz Harvest. So I think that's really awesome and a great way for customers to get involved. Very little effort on your part. We're giving up our time to come and do the demos and to teach you about your Thermomixes. And at the end, you know, it's us helping families in need. Did I miss something?
I think that's pretty good. Just a few of the facts around what does go on. Like, I think it was something like 3.7 million people don't have adequate meals across Australia. So it's quite significant, you know, and we can waste as Australians between $2,000 and $2,500 a year with food. So that's huge. Like, we're wasting all this food and there's people who don't have enough food. And so we are on that little bit of a mission as a company. And obviously Oz Harvest is, I think their tagline is Nourish the Nation, to, reduce our waste. Thermomix is amazing for that, you know, and you could potentially, if you're savvy, pay off a Thermomix in a year with the savings you'd make by having one, which is why we're so passionate about the product. Not only does it help people save money, it also helps people save time and eat better, and saves the planet, helps them, you know, that's why we love getting out there and doing demos as well. Beck said, yes, you know, you don't have to do much. We come along and cook for you. But we also get to meet your friends and introduce them to, you know, the most exciting way to cook, and also the most exciting opportunity to have an income and help others along the way. So we love our business. Obviously, we're here tonight sharing it with you, and our families are off somewhere, hopefully not, you know, causing too much chaos, because we just, yeah, we really do believe in what we do. So
Susan's just dropped a comment in there, and I can't see the whole thing, but it reminded me that she's in New Zealand. So Susan, this is actually running in New Zealand as well. So the girls over there are doing exactly the same as we're doing here. So yeah, if you'd like to have a demonstration with one of them, definitely do that.
So before you guys jump off tonight, we'd love you to fill in our poll, just a couple of questions for you. And that will, you know, if there's anything in there that you want to tick, we'd love to know what you want to try the most out of the recipes you've seen tonight. We won't be offended which one you choose. Beck chose most of the menu anyway. And if you are interested in jumping on board and being a part of that Oz Harvest demo campaign, we would love to host with you. Doesn't, like Beck said, doesn't take much to be a host, but it's very rewarding for you and your friends, and also now feeding hungry families. And if you want any more information on a few things, hosting a demo, joining as a consultant, we do free business information sessions, or we can meet with you one-on-one. TM31 trade up ends tonight. You can always trade up your 31, but the great offer of a free bowl, it ends tonight. So if that's you, please reach out to your consultant ASAP. There's also a $29 Ovana pizza oven offer kicking off tomorrow, which is pretty exciting because we love our pizza oven. So if you haven't got a TM6 and you're looking to get one, that's a really great deal, but it's very limited. So jump on that quickly. Mix shop products, we've shared a few today if you want to know more about those, or coming along to an in-person cooking class. If you want to know more about that, we will let you know which ones are in your area. So please fill that in. So there's the poll not working for you guys.
I can see it on my end, but I'm also a host, which is why I can see it.
Let me stop sharing and I'll try again. Relaunch poll.
You know what it could be, Claire? It could be because you popped it up for Elmin and I at the beginning.
Okay, can you guys see that now? Is that working?
I think it's working this time.
Okay. It is because I showed it to you. Oops, thank you guys. I learned something new tonight. Meg, why don't you jump off Zoom and tell me? Jump off mute. Zoom expert in the room.
I'm excited to see a couple of people saying they're keen to have an Oz Harvest demo. That's wonderful. Thank you for your support.
And that's the biggest compliment that you can give your consultant, is by hosting some demos.
Yeah. And I'm scrolling down because I want to see whose recipe won.
And the other thing is sometimes we're a little bit hard pressed to get enough consultants to do this class with us. So if any of you guys have a burning desire to be jumping on and presenting at one of our cooking classes, but you're not a consultant, we are still would love to have you. So just reach out to the person that you know in Thermomix and let them know that you're keen to jump on and present. Oxy, did you say you are?
Yes, he just stopped in and said,
yes, please. Yes, please.
Oh, we would love to have you back
Yes, please.
with us.
Look, I'm cooking black rice. I show you to you. It's unbelievable.
I can't see you, Oxy. Where can you see Oxy?
I can see Oxy. She's
there she is. I'm going to put you on.
Hey, hello. I'm sorry, I forgot how to use Zoom. Would you believe that? Yeah, I just wanted to show you my black rice. And here's my Thermomix. And that's my lunch for tomorrow. Yeah, I love my Thermomix.
And we
So
love
good to see you all.
Amazing. Yeah, you're definitely welcome to come present with us, Oxy. So Oxy was a consultant with us. And we're very sad that she's no longer a consultant with us. So coming on to this class would be amazing. You are definitely, we got the crowds with you, Oxy.
Claire, your rissoles have ranked pretty highly in the poll results, I can see.
Well done, Beck.
What? You cooked them?
Fine, the plaited pork and the rissoles. That's exciting. All right, so everyone had a chance to put in. All right, if you've put anything in the poll that requires follow-up, we'll be in touch with you, or your consultant will. We'll let them know that you've come along tonight. If you don't have a consultant, we'll reach out and see if we can hook you up with someone local. Beautiful. All right, well, that is it for us. Thank you so much, guys, for your time tonight, for coming on and spending the hour with us. The next one is on Wednesday, the 8th of May. And it is 7:30 p.m. We're doing a high tea theme in preparation for Mother's Day. So we'll get your meal planning set up for the kids to make some pretty amazing treats for you on Mother's Day. If you're not a mother, you could do it for your own mother. And so, yeah.
Or just for yourself.
Yes, true. And that is all. Awesome. I'm going to stop the recording. If anyone has any questions,